Howdy everyone, 420 Grower here. This is a video about SIPs, so sub-irrigated planters. I really like this system of growing. Now I do run a cannabis channel, but Google will not let me post a video that is restricted. So this is going to be strictly about plants and not about any plant in particular. And even still, if you're underage, under 18, under 21, don't watch, I guess. So the basis of the sub-irrigated planter is the fact that there is a natural force called capillary action where water can move even against the force of gravity. If you've ever mopped up a spill with a napkin and watched the water run into the napkin, that's an example of capillary action, and that is exactly what happens in a sub-irrigated planter. Now there are a lot of different types of sub-irrigated planters. One of the more popular ones on YouTube is the rain gutter garden, and it uses 5-gallon buckets, and they put a 3-inch net pot in the bottom, and then they pack the bucket with soil or whatever mix they use. I personally prefer cocoa over soil. It might be a matter of taste, but I feel like it's a better grow medium. But they set the net pod into the rain gutter, and it sucks water up, and the water wicks up by capillary action. And from what I hear, it works pretty good, except when you start growing larger plants and the roots get out into the rain gutter, then you're looking at the possibility of getting pythium, and that's a bad thing. So what I wanted to do was come up with a system that would water evenly and that would eliminate that problem. The thing that I decided to do was to use smart pots because they're a natural wick, and by placing them on top of a layer of stones, they will wick up the moisture and the plant gets watered evenly. The problem I had with the rain gutter system is the fact that water in the gutter is stagnant. It's not moving. So what I decided to do was to recirculate the water. Now I did not invent the SIP, but I do believe I'm the first one to run a recirculating SIP, and it's really a pretty simple setup. And if you can see right over here, there is water coming up, but you can see it's below the tops of the stones. And then in the back there in the corner, there is a drain, and it's covered with a screen to keep out the particles. The bed itself is grow stones, which unfortunately are no longer being made, but you can use hydroton, you can use perlite. I wouldn't use anything like river rock or anything like that. First of all, it's really heavy, and I'm not sure how well something like pebbles or river rock would wick. So the basis of the system is to work with nature and use capillary action instead of fighting it. You take a more natural approach. Now plants in soil, they grow down and search for water, and the soil, by capillary action, feeds them. The water moves up towards the roots, and the roots absorb it. Now, it does rain, but really, that doesn't happen all the time, so the rest of the time plants have to drink. So unless there's a drought, or unless there's a flood, they're pretty much being watered evenly and naturally, and that's the way nature intended it, and that's how this system works. So that's why I'm so gung-ho on this. I tried it out just because I'm always curious and I'm trying to do new things, but it turned out that it worked so well that I'm changing over everything I do to this type of system. Now, you can use a bucket if you want. I just think smart pots work better. You can use hard pots in here as long as the holes go into the stones. Now, the most important thing to note about this is the fact that the stones are moist, but the water is below the tops of the stones. These pots are not sitting in water. You do not want them sitting in water. They'll just get soaked, so what's happening is they're on a layer of stones and the water is running maybe an inch, 2 inches below, and capillary action makes that water wick up, and the pot grabs it and transfers it to the soil, and your plants grow beautifully. I've always had a problem with over and under watering, because when you're growing plants, some get bigger than others, some drink more than others, and it's really, really hard to catch them all at the same time so you can water them evenly. This system eliminates that problem, and to me that's a blessing, because I'd always have plants that were bone dry, and then I'd have others that were too wet to water, or if I did it automated, where I've used top feed drip, I've used flood and drain, I've tried a lot of different growing systems, and this one really seems to work the best. So again, it's called a SIP, or a sub-irrigated planter. Sometimes they call it a self-watering planter. There are a lot of versions of it online. I think Earthbox is a SIP that is being sold on Amazon. There's several other devices that are designed to go into a 5-gallon bucket, and I really don't have a problem with a 5-gallon bucket in this, or even the rain gutter garden. If they could recirculate that water, it would probably be just fine. It just really depends on what you want to do, but most of the systems are geared for growing outside in a garden, and I am an indoor grower. This system, as I said, very easy to set up. You can see that these are in a tote. I bought these totes at Home Depot. They're about $13. They're 2 feet by 3 feet, and a couple of flood and drain fittings. They're not much money either. I think they're like $7 or something like that. Here's one right here. It basically takes 1 1/4 hole. You have 2 of them. There is a screen that screws into the top, and there's a nut on the bottom and a rubber washer here. And so basically all you have to do is drill 2 holes, one to feed water in and one to drain water out. I have a reservoir underneath here. It's the same kind of tote that you're looking at, and it holds about somewhere between 15 to 20 gallons of water, and inside that I have a 400-gallon-per-hour pump. You probably don't need one that big. See, I'm actually running 2 of these side by side here, so I need a little bit bigger of a pump. If you were only running one, probably a 300-gallon-per-hour pump would work. I want to encourage everyone to give this a try. I think you'll be really happy with it. It doesn't matter whether you're growing cannabis or whether you're growing tomatoes. You can pretty much grow anything you want in this system. And I would like you to come visit my website, and I will put a link to it below this video. There is an article I wrote that gives a pretty good description of how to build one of these things. And I guess that's about it. Happy gardening!